Level 1. The Prince. You're 8 years old, and you already know things most adults will never know. You know that the men who stand outside your house aren't gardeners. When your father's phone rings at 3 a.m. and he walks out without saying goodbye. Your father is El Señor, the man who controls the Durango corridor. On Sunday mornings, he makes eggs himself in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, laughing. He teaches you to ride a horse on the Rancho.
He holds your hand at your mother's church, even though the priest looks at him like he's the devil. A man comes to the house. His face is swollen, his left eye completely shut. Your father listens without blinking, then he nods once. He made a mistake. In this family, we don't make mistakes. You nod like you understand. You don't, not yet.
Level 2. The Shadow. You're 14. Your father pulls you out of your private school in Monterey and brings you home. No explanation, just a phone call and a car. 3 days later, you're sitting across from him at the long wooden table in his office where deals are made and men come to beg. He slides a ledger across the table. Every week, you will study this. You will learn how money moves, where it comes from, where it goes. You look at the numbers, millions, tens of millions, more zeros than you've ever seen on paper outside of a textbook. This is your inheritance, and you have to understand it before you can protect it. For 2 years you sit in on meetings. You never speak, you just watch. You watch how your father reads people, who's lying, who's scared, who's ambitious enough to be dangerous. You watch how he negotiates, how he grants favors and collects them back later like interest. This isn't a gang, it's a government. Territory, laws, taxes, enforcement, diplomacy, and war. Your father is its president, and you are the prince in waiting. Looking for a file in the back room of the office, you open the wrong drawer. Inside, photographs. Men on their knees in open fields. Men in bare concrete rooms with their hands tied behind their backs. You close the drawer slowly. You don't say anything. But that night you dream about it, and the next night, and the one after that. You never tell your father what you saw. Level 3. The Test. You're 17. Your father gives you a plaza. Not a big one, a small border town in Chihuahua. 3 dozen men, 2 crossing routes, 1 corrupt federal commander who gets his envelope every Friday. Your father calls it your classroom, small enough to manage, big enough to matter. What he doesn't tell you is that one of the 3 senior men assigned to advise you, a veteran everyone calls El Gordo, has been skimming for 6 months. Your father already knows this is the real test, not the plaza, you. It takes you 4 weeks to find it. You go through the numbers every night until the pattern appears. Small amounts, never the same figure twice, always buried inside a different line. Someone who knows exactly how ledgers get read. El Gordo has been doing this a long time. You sit with the information for 3 days. You're 17 years old, and you know what the correct answer is. You've seen the drawer. You know what happens to men who steal from the organization. Part of you hopes your father will just handle it when you report it, so it won't have to be you. But that's not the test. You call El Gordo into the office alone. You sit him down. You put the ledger on the table and point to the numbers without saying a word. You watch his face go from confused to understanding to fear in about 4 seconds flat. He tries to explain. You let him finish. Then you make the call. 2 days later, El Gordo is gone. You don't ask where. You don't need to. Your father calls you that evening. You hear something in his voice you've never heard before. Pride. You passed, he says. Just 2 words. You hang up and sit in the dark for a long time because you passed, and you're not sure how you feel about that. Level 4. The soldier's son goes to war. You're 20. A rival organization has been pushing into the southern edge of your father's territory. They're young, violent, and reckless. They don't negotiate. They just take. 3 of your father's plaza bosses have been killed in 6 weeks. 2 crossing routes shut down. The organization is bleeding. Your father is careful, methodical. He wants to respond surgically, quietly, without drawing the military in. But his lieutenants are angry. The men on the ground want blood. They want a response that sends a message. You volunteer to lead it. Your father says no. You're too important, too visible. If something happens to you, the succession falls apart. You're not a soldier. You're a symbol. You tell him symbols don't command respect. Soldiers do. He looks at you for a long time. Then he lets you go. For 3 months you live in the field. You sleep in safe houses. You eat what the men eat. You plan the counter-operations personally, not just authorizing them from a distance, but sitting at the table, studying the maps, choosing the targets, giving the orders. The rival organization pushes south. You push back harder. By month 2, they've pulled back from 2 of the 3 contested corridors. By month 3, their regional commander is found outside a gas station on the highway with a message attached that no newspaper is allowed to print. You come back to the compound different. The men look at you differently now, not like the boss's son anymore, like someone who earned his place. That's a new feeling, and it fits like something you've been waiting your whole life to wear. Your father embraces you when you return. He says nothing at first. He just holds you. That night at dinner, he pours you a glass of his good scotch for the first time. "To my son," he says, "who is becoming a man I recognize." You drink it and smile. But somewhere underneath the pride and the warmth of your father's approval, something is shifted, something you can't name yet. You are becoming someone. The question is whether it's the someone your father wanted or someone else entirely. Level 5. The coup that wasn't. You're 24. Your father is sick. Nothing public, nothing dramatic, a slow erosion. His kidneys. He spends 3 weeks in a private clinic in Guadalajara and tells everyone he's on vacation. You run everything in his absence, and you're good at it. Better, maybe, than he is, because you're not careful the way he's careful. He measures everything. You move fast. You trust your gut. In those 3 weeks, you broker a deal with the Sonora faction that your father has been negotiating for 2 years. You do it in 4 days. You absorb one of the smaller independent plazas on the eastern route, peacefully, through money and muscle and the right conversations. When your father returns, thinner, slower, you brief him on everything. He listens, he nods, then he undoes one of your decisions, the eastern expansion. He says it was too fast, too exposed. You'll make enemies on 3 sides before you fortified the center. You push back. He doesn't raise his voice. He just says, "I've been doing this since before you were born. When I tell you to wait, you wait." You say yes, Papa. But something has changed. You felt what it's like to hold the whole thing in your hands, to feel how it responds to you. His hands are slower. His instincts are older. You don't say any of this out loud. You're smart enough to know when to stay silent. But in the compound, quietly, the lieutenants are starting to look at you first when your father is in the room. Not intentionally, not conspiratorially, just naturally, like water finding its level. Your father sees it. He doesn't say anything either. But the space between you, once warm, once simple, begins to cool. Level 6. The takeover. You're 27. Your father has a second health crisis. This time, it's worse. Hospitalized for 6 weeks. His right-hand man, a lieutenant called Toro, who has served him for 25 years, approaches you privately. The organization needs a leader who can lead, not a symbol, not a man giving orders from a hospital bed through a phone. The other factions are watching, rivals are probing. There have been 3 incursions in the past month, small, testing, like fingers searching for a wound. Someone has to stand up, Toro says. Someone has to be El Señor now. You tell him your father is still El Señor. Toro looks at you steadily. I know, he says, but does everyone else? You sit with that for a week. You visit your father in the hospital. He looks small in the bed, smaller than you've ever seen him. Machines beeping softly. He squeezes your hand and tells you he'll be back on his feet in 2 weeks. He says what he always says, everything I do for you. You hold his hand, you smile, you say, you know, Papa. And then you go back to the compound and call a meeting with all 12 senior lieutenants. You sit at the head of the table, your father's chair, for the first time. Nobody objects. You brief them on the incursions. You lay out a response. You make 4 decisions in 1 hour that your father would have spent a month deliberating. When the meeting ends and you walk out, one of the younger lieutenants falls into step beside you. He calls you El Señor. It's the first time anyone has called you that. You don't correct him. When your father returns home 6 weeks later, the organization is running better than it has in years. Your father sits at the head of the table, and you sit to his right, where you've always sat, and you brief him on everything. He listens without expression. At the end, he says only, "You sat in my chair." Not a question. Someone told him. You don't deny it. You say the organization needed leadership. He looks at you for a long time, the same eyes that tucked you in as a boy, the same eyes that taught you to ride, the same eyes that looked at you over a steak and said, "We don't make mistakes." Then he nods once and looks away. The 2 of you never speak about it again, but you both know what happened, and you both know what it means. Level 7. The El Señor. You're 31. Your father is alive. He lives on the Rancho, healthy enough, older, quieter. He tends to his horses. He attends Sunday Mass. He calls you every evening at 7. You talk for 20 minutes about everything except business. You are El Señor now, not by death, not by force, by gravity. Your father stepped aside the way powerful men sometimes do, not all at once, but inch by inch, until one day the weight has fully transferred. You control the entire corridor now, 6 states, 14 plaza bosses, operations in 4 countries, politicians in your pocket, generals on retainer, judges who lose paperwork on command. You do everything your father taught you, and you do things he never would have. You're more aggressive, more willing to absorb casualties to hold territory. Your father balanced fear with mercy. You've decided mercy is a liability you can't afford right now. The results show it. The organization has never been larger, never been more profitable, never been more feared. But the calls with your father at 7 in the evening get shorter. He asks about your mother. You ask about his horses. You talk about the weather. 2 men on opposite sides of a wall that neither of you built, but both of you live behind. One evening he says, "I'm hearing things about how you handle problems, about what you've been ordering." You tell him the business demands what the business demands. "I built this so you would never have to be what I was. You understand? That was the whole point." You tell him you understand. You don't. Or maybe you do, and you just don't care anymore. You hang up and stare at the phone. Outside the compound walls, the night is quiet. 20 armed men patrol the perimeter. The organization moves like a machine, efficient, relentless, yours. You built this, more than he did now. You are El Señor, but his voice stays with you longer than you want it to.
Level 8. Everything and nothing. You're 35. You have survived 4 assassination attempts. You have outlasted 2 federal offensives, 3 DEA operations, and a rival organization that no longer exists. You are the most wanted man in North America. Your face is in briefing rooms in Washington, D.C. There is a bounty on your head with 8 zeros attached to it. The Rancho expanded and fortified, properties in 4 countries under names that lead nowhere. You have a son of your own now, 4 years old. He rides horses on the same land you did. He calls you Papa. You tell yourself you're smarter than your father, that you'll know when to get out, that you're building something different. Your father calls on a Tuesday, earlier than usual. His voice sounds thin. Your mother is asking about you, he says. She misses you. You tell him you'll visit soon. She misses who you used to be, he says. You don't answer that. Do you remember what I used to tell you when you were small? What I said was the point of all of it? You remember. You've been carrying that sentence your entire life. Everything I do for you. I got it wrong, he says quietly. I thought I was building you a life. I was building you a cage. I just couldn't see the bars from the inside.
You tell him you're fine, that you're in control, that everything is running well. He says, that's exactly what I used to say. 3 months later, your father dies. Heart failure. Peaceful, in his sleep, at the Rancho. You don't attend the funeral. Too exposed. Too many federal agencies with cameras in the hills. You watch it on a video call from inside the compound, alone, on a phone that can't be traced. You watch them lower him into the ground, your mother in black, old men from the organization, the priest who always looked at him like the devil, but came every Sunday anyway. You watch all of it on a 4-inch screen. You think about a Sunday morning kitchen, eggs on the stove, a man with his sleeves rolled up, laughing at his own jokes. You think about a drawer you opened by accident when you were 14, how you closed it quietly and said nothing. You think about your son asleep somewhere in this compound, 4 years old, riding horses on the same rancho, calling you Papa the same way you once called your father. You are El Señor, the most feared name in the country, untouchable, and you are completely alone. No Sunday mornings, no church, no phone calls at 7. No one left alive who knew you before you became a name people say in fear. Your father said he built you a cage and couldn't see the bars from the inside. You can see them. You've always been able to see them. You just told yourself the view from inside was worth it. And now your son is 4 years old on a horse on the rancho, and the cage is already being built around him, and you are the one holding the hammer. This is your life as the son of the cartel boss. You didn't choose the beginning, but every step after that, every order, every test you passed, every chair you sat in before the seat was yours, that was you. The empire is yours, the cage is yours, and the clock for your son is already running.